What if I told you you have the power to create your own reality? And what it's based on is your ability to paint it. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode number 5 of the Business of Happiness podcast. I am your host, Taryn McCarthy, and I'm honored to have you here today. Thank you for joining us last week. It was such a power episode. The power of intention. Really, I'm so grateful to have shared that information with you, and so grateful to so many of you for the outpouring of response that I have heard and how much this resonated with so many of you. Today's episode is kicking off our 2-part series called The 3 Permissions of Self-Empowerment. This one just is so close to my heart. This is such a big message to share. I'm so eager to share it with each and every one of you. And next week, we will continue the story about the 3 permissions of empowerment. It was just too much to fit into a single episode. I really value bringing you just 20 minutes, 25 minutes at a time so that you can appreciate and enjoy the message in not having to take up too much of your time during the day, because I know that you are busy. That is who successful leaders, successful entrepreneurs, successful business owners, leaders in their own right, we are busy. Our lives are busy. And I value that. And I honor that you have dedicated the time to listen to this podcast. I'm humbled by that, and I applaud you for taking the time to make a difference in your own happiness. So let's get started today talking about the 3 permissions of self-empowerment. Why is this so valuable right now? The reason why is because we are more than ever in great need for superb leadership. That is what we need. That is what this country, that is what this continent, that is what this whole planet is asking for, is leadership. And I believe deep in the depths of my heart that each of us are our own leaders. I believe we have so much value and so much power and strength to affect and inspire others, but that each of us have an integral role to play in leadership of our own lives. So it doesn't matter if you are a business leader, owner, CEO of your business or not. It doesn't matter if you're not the one making the ultimate decisions in your business. You are still the leader of your own career path. You're still the leader of your own dreams. You're still the leader of your own decision making. So many of us moms and dads are the leaders of our families. These are huge responsibilities that I don't take lightly. You all know that the power of how we feel impacts everybody around us. Moms know this better than anybody, and I'm not denying dads this power, but I just know as a mother that when I'm feeling great and resilient and positive and I can be present with my children, it just oozes off onto them. And they have a similar approach and a similar mindset to their own lives. That's being a leader. That means I am leading them and guiding them in how they see life, in how they live their lives. That makes me a leader. That makes you a leader. The same is true within your friendship group, with the people you spend the most amount of time with. Your attitude and your mindset seeps out onto them, and the more you can guide yourself to a place of empowerment, the more you can have a positive impact on other people's lives. So I do believe that within each of us is a leader. That's why I created Embrace the Lead. Embrace the Lead is a business that's sole mission is to guide each and every one of us to recognize the leadership potential inside each of us and to own it and then to do good with it. You know, I believe that strong leadership has three very important tenets. Strong leadership requires creativity, requires resilience, and requires courage. And that strong leadership is needed in all aspects of our lives. We need creative leaders who can take situations that are outside of our control and choose to see them in a way that they can be creative about the solution. This is such a huge strength for small businesses. Being creative about looking at something, seeing something the way that others can't. Being able to look at something differently and imagine and create and dream a new possibility for an outcome. To be creative to work around it. That boulder that arrives in your path on your way to your destination is out of your control. But how you get over it, how you get around it, how you maybe dig under it, now that's in your control. But it takes creativity. And creativity is so difficult to find when we're living in a place of fear and anxiety. But man, when you're in a positive place, a wellspring of creation comes to you. Suddenly, all these new ideas can come to you when you can find a place of peace and inner fulfillment. So that very first part of strong leadership is creativity. And the second part I mentioned was resilience. We know this to be true. It was Confucius who first said that our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in the rising every time we fall. So many people have used that and reworded that phrase to suit them, and it's beautiful every time we hear it. But it's so true. Our human experience is that we will fall. We will stumble. In business, we will fall. We want our children to fall. We want them to learn how to get back up on their feet. It's the resilience that makes you a great leader, right? It's the creativity and then it's the resilience. It's the resolve that everything's going to be okay. Don't worry, I've got you. We're going to rise again after this. This is where companies and businesses have really come to shine through this COVID experience of 2020. All the companies that closed down, that had to furlough their teams, I was one of them. My business had to do that. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would have to lay off my entire team, receive unemployment checks myself in this incredible business of dentistry that I'm in. But we did it. And my entire cohort was floored by this too. None of us expected this. It was wounding at the time. But the businesses that came out strong were the ones who could say, I got you. The leaders who came out strong, the leaders who could bring their teams back on board were the ones who could say, you know what, we're going to bounce. This is a new level for us. This is a new fall. This is a new stumble. But we are resilient as a team. We're resilient as humans. I believe that deep in my soul is that human beings are resilient. If history has shown us anything, we have lived through so much, and the resilience is there. It's the leader who can show that and inspire that resilience that really has great impact on the people who are following him or her. And then I said the third thing about strong leadership is courage. And it's that courage that's so important. Being courageous as a leader is what inspires people to have faith in you, to follow you. That's true in my line of business, in dentistry. I'm essentially leading my patients through their treatment. I'm a leader of their treatment, and my team are leaders of our patients' treatment. And we talk about this all the time, is that children or adults will have more faith in you and more trust in you the more courage you can show. When you can show the people around you that you have courage, that you believe in them, that you have faith that this will all resolve, that we will find something better beyond this when we're in times of turmoil, that is when people are most able to put their faith and their trust in you. It's courage that takes a great leader. So from these very important parts of strong leadership come the 3 permissions. And these 3 permissions we can all incorporate into our lives at any time. We can all use these, whether we're business owners or not, or you're just a leader of your own life, which is not a small thing. But acknowledging it and taking the responsibility of the leadership of your life. That is key. Recognizing that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the leader of your life. You are the leader of your dreams. That's everything. How much power is there in that? It's beautiful. Because we cannot control the things that come at us, but we can control how we respond to those things. So the very first permission is the permission to dream. Permission to dream of something that you want, something that you need, something that will bring you joy and happiness. The permission to dream of something better if you are in a bad place. And if you're in a great place, dream even bigger. Dream even greater dreams, but give yourself the permission to do so. It's interesting because when we think of dreams, a lot of emotions come up for us. The first one is judgment. And I think that's why we're so hesitant to allow ourselves to dream. When you're in a negative place, when you're in an abusive relationship, when you're in poor health, when you're in a terrible job, it sometimes can feel silly to dream outside of what appears to be the reality. This is the situation I'm in. I can't imagine anything else. It's such an important thing at that moment to allow yourself to dream of something bigger and better beyond this, right? If you look around you and this is not satisfying, time to dream, baby. Time to dream of what is satisfying to you. And it sometimes means having to dream over and over again. My dreams, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, my dreams looked very different. But it's the permission to dream a new dream that's so important. And when you can paint a picture of that dream, that's the power that you have in your life. That's the power that you have for change. That's the promise of possibilities. And how key is that in leadership? Because when you can dream and be really specific and really creative about that new dream, you can paint that picture of success for the people on your team, for your family, for your community, for your cohort. When you give yourself permission to dream, you give other people permission to dream along with you. And sometimes we get so stuck in the what isness of the situation. People don't want to dream because they say, but you're living in fantasy. This is the reality of the situation. You are just fantasizing about something else. But it's that fantasy that carries so much promise. It's the fantasy that allows us to keep moving forward. Yes, I know I'm in this situation right now, but listen to my dream. Look at the power of leaders who have done that for us in the past. The most obvious example that comes to mind is Martin Luther King Jr. When he started out his speech with, "I have a dream." That's the ultimate leader there. He painted us a picture of how life could be different. He painted a picture that we could see with him. It's that leadership skill of being able to dream something and then be able to share that dream with others. So the most important person to share that dream with is yourself, giving yourself permission. Giving yourself permission to dream and then to allow all judgment to fall away. And it doesn't matter how big or small that dream is. That dream can be itty bitty. I've talked about this so often in my podcast, and you're going to hear it again because it's such a great example of this. And that is my bright orange Jeep. I love that Jeep. I love driving that Jeep. Every day in that Jeep is a good day. When I get in my car, I am in such a happy place. I have a license plate that says wonderful life, and I feel like it's a wonderful life every time I get in that car. But here's the story about that Jeep. I agonized over it for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, I didn't sleep, I didn't rest, because I knew I had this dream of this orange Jeep. I had seen the Jeep. I fell in love with it. I wanted to be in that orange Jeep. And that's when the self-judgment started checking in on me. It seems ridiculous about a car, I know. And when I say it now, I'm almost ashamed to tell you about this judgment that I had. But I'm telling you the story because I want you to see that sometimes our self-judgment is our biggest enemy, and really it has no strength outside of our own minds. I don't even know what story I was telling myself about this Jeep. I was so concerned about the image that it would portray to other people and what other people would think of me. And here is the madness in this, and we all do this all the time, is that the stress I was putting on myself was, what is someone else going to think of me? Jay Shetty describes this so clearly. It's the madness of what I think you think I think. I don't even know what you're thinking, but I'm imagining this whole thought process of your impression of me and what I might be thinking, and who am I to drive an orange Jeep? Whatever kind of stories that might come up for you, I'm pretending to know what that is, and then putting that on myself, that self-judgment. And then when I just had the courage to buy that thing, to believe in that dream, how much joy that brings to me now. What a great example of giving yourself permission to dream of something as silly and small as an orange Jeep, or as big and beautiful as a business, or a business model. Or as I speak so often to businesses that you've already created, businesses that you've already poured money and time and effort into, and now the fear of turning it and seeing it in a new light and creating a new vision for that business, building on the skill you already have developed, but just tweaking it or pivoting it. That is the permission to dream, to see it differently. And there is so much power in that. There's so much power in just allowing yourself to see things differently and to dream and to just be quiet with yourself and ask yourself, what do I want? It seems so selfish. And maybe that's the part that we have trouble with dreams, is that it feels selfish to have a dream. Well, what about everyone else who's suffering all around me? How can I dream something different and leave all these people behind? Right? We put that judgment on ourselves. What does that make me? If I dream something different and I leave this community, I leave this neighborhood, I leave this friend group because I have a different dream. But it's that dream that allows us to see something different and bring everyone along with us. You can never be sick enough to heal the sick people around you. You can never be sad enough and depressed enough to heal the depressed people around you. It doesn't work. It doesn't work to join in the misery around you and think that that's going to help your friends out. Once I was speaking to somebody who was having trouble conceiving. it's common in my line of work because so many dentists and healthcare providers have really dedicated most of their 20s to studying and being able to care for other people. And we really dedicate our lives to serving others, and sometimes at the neglect of our own health. So infertility is a common story amongst my cohort. And I remember talking to someone once, and she said, whenever I talk about how hard I'm trying to have a baby, or every time I lose a pregnancy, my girlfriends chime in and say, "Oh, you don't want to have a baby anyway. Let me just tell you how hard it is. I got these kids and they're driving me nuts, and you're better off. Look at all the freedom you have. You don't have a baby." They would say these negative things to her to try to make her feel better. Or, "Oh, I wish I had the freedom you had." And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, "I wish that my friends would understand that when they talk about the beauty of having children, about the beauty and love they find in their families, that's what inspires me to keep going. I don't want them to pull themselves down and try to commiserate with me on this negative level. I'm doing everything I can to get to that beautiful place. Tell me how wonderful it can be. Tell me how beautiful it can be. Tell me how much this is worth my effort. Remind me that my dream is worthy. Remind me that I am worthy of my dreams." That is so powerful. Sometimes we get so stuck in wanting to just share the experience and hug our girlfriends and be apart and say, "It's okay, I was there too." But we forget the value of the dream. We forget the inspiration of the dream. And we forget how powerful that is for us to keep going and to give us permission to keep dreaming. What if I told you you have the power to create your own reality? And what it's based on is your ability to paint it, your ability to design it, and your permission to keep recreating it. When you were 22, you had a certain dream and you painted that picture and you worked towards it. It's okay when you're 32 or 42 or 52 to keep recreating that dream. Okay, I achieved this. Now this little part of it doesn't feel so great anymore. Or now I realized I was going after something that isn't as fulfilling. Now I can recreate that dream. This first permission is the biggest permission, the permission to dream. And so, what are some ways that you can allow yourself to dream? It just means giving yourself some quiet opportunity to just think about what you want. Desires are so important. I'm not somebody who needs a lot of material things. I love my Jeep. Don't take my Jeep away from me, but necessarily clothing and things like that don't speak to me. But I know people who do. I know people who dream of a piece of clothing, and then when they put it on, they feel so good about themselves. My husband is one of them. He is very tall. He's 6'6". He says he's 6'5", but he's 6'6". He's a very tall guy, and he's always felt uncomfortable in his clothes. And when he finally found a tailor to make his clothes for him to actually fit him, and when he puts them on, he feels so great about himself, and wrapping himself in something that he feels good in gives him so much courage and self-empowerment, if you will. So I get it. I get it when people dream about materialistic things. Sometimes materialistic things can make you feel really good. So drop that judgment. Drop the judgment if that's important to you. Or if you dream about having some freedom or free time, how beautiful is that? I think we sometimes put so much judgment on dreaming about financial security and financial stability. When I say I dream of making $1 million, that doesn't seem altruistic, philanthropic. But when I rephrase it a little bit and say I dream of freedom, I want to be financially secure enough so that I can make decisions out of a place of empowerment and not fear. I want to be free to take time to appreciate and enjoy my life. I want to be free enough with money to be able to support people when I see the need and not be fearful of how that will negatively impact my life. See how allowing those judgments to slip away encourages the dream. Because if we have a dream and we don't allow ourselves the permission to feel entitled to that dream, we restrict ourselves from that dream. I want that dream, but I don't deserve it. That's the difficult part. When you lay that judgment on it, you tell yourself you don't deserve it. If it helps, think about how you would say this to your daughter or your son or your niece or your grandchild. Would you ever tell them not to dream? In fact, that's what we tell our children from the very beginning. You can be anything you want to be. We all say that, and we believe it because we don't have that judgment on them, the same judgment that we have for ourselves. We believe in other people's dreams. Why not allow ourselves to dream? So I'm going to leave you with this as we keep walking through these 3 permissions. This is the most powerful one, that you really have the potential and the power to create your own reality, that you really deserve and have to appreciate and value your worthiness for your dreams. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you feel this. I believe it in you. I believe in every single one of us having the potential to create our own realities. And I believe every single one of us deserves it. And I'm excited to go on with you next week and tell you more about the second 2 permissions of self-empowerment. And they build off of this one. But remember until then that you have the power to create your own reality. Thank you for joining me today. Please, if this spoke to you, share it with your friends. If you know somebody who needs permission to dream, who needs permission to feel worthy of his or her own dreams, share this episode with them. And remember to subscribe to me on the YouTube channel so I could continue to bring this quality information to you. And until next time, today is going to be a great day.